Let's start with a truth that LSAT courses don't typically say out loud. If your score isn't improving, it's not because you're not trying. It's not because you're not smart enough. And it's definitely not because law school is out of reach. It's because you're approaching your prep like most people do. You're working hard, feeling stressed, but you're making zero progress. I've seen it over and over again. Since 2005, I've coached thousands of LSAT students, first-gen applicants, Ivy League grads, working parents, full-time undergrads, paralegals, engineers, you name it. Some walked in scoring 170 plus cold. Others started in the 130s and told me flat out, I don't think I can do this. And you know what I learned? It's not natural talent. It's not background. It's not even how many hours they studied. The ones who made the leap, sometimes 20, 30, even 40 points, had something else. They learned to stop using broken prep strategies and instead start using a system that actually worked for them. They studied differently, they thought differently, and they showed up differently. And that difference changed everything. Now, here is the simplest way to think about your LSAT prep. Every point comes at a cost. Not money, but time, energy, focus, and confidence. And whether you realize it or not, you're already spending all four of those. So if your score isn't rising, it means you're spending your resources in the wrong place. Now, after 20 years of watching thousands of students prep for the LSAT, I've seen four distinct patterns emerge, and you're using one or more of them right now. The first is the past work trap, hoping that what you did before still counts. This student will say, I already went through the textbooks, I took a prep class 3 months ago, I've watched hundreds of hours of videos and read every thread on Reddit. So they assume that because they've done the work, now they just need to keep going. Now, let me be blunt. This isn't college anymore. There's no curve, there's no extra credit, and you don't get a trophy just for participating. The LSAT is a live performance, and that doesn't care what you used to do. You're not being tested on whether you studied hard 3 months ago. You're being tested on whether you can perform right now under timed conditions with zero margin for error. Past effort is like last semester's GPA. It might make you feel better, but it's not going to help this semester. You can't move forward if you're still relying on what you've already done. And if that effort didn't change your score before, repeating it isn't suddenly going to start working now. I know this might be hard to hear, but I hope that at the same time it can be liberating for you now. You don't have to keep dragging your old prep behind you. You can cut it loose and build something that works now. The second big type of investment is the daily grind illusion, mistaking activity for progress. And these students are often the most frustrated because they're studying every day, they're putting in the hours, and they're doing the work, but nothing's changing. Why? Because a lot of LSAT-related activity doesn't actually translate to getting better at the LSAT. Most students are just taking random sections without actually reviewing anything. They're going over the same question types they already understand. They're taking full exams without fixing their mistakes, and they're endlessly taking notes with no real clear strategy behind it all. They're moving, but they're not necessarily moving forward. It's like building a legal argument just by collecting case law without organizing your claims. You might be working, but there's no clear direction. Now, here's what real progress looks like instead. It could involve isolating your weak areas and drilling them with intention. It could involve timing yourself under real conditions. It could involve reviewing why you got questions wrong, not just what the right answer is. And it could involve recognizing patterns in your errors and then adjusting. And I know that the grind feels safe, it feels familiar, and it certainly feels productive, but if your score hasn't changed in weeks, you're not really grinding, you're just spinning your wheels. Now, the third big kind of investment is the future fix fantasy, hoping that next week will somehow be different. And this is the most dangerous one. You say things like, I'll get serious after my midterms, or once my internship ends, then I'll have more time, or I'll start fresh next month, like the first of the month is magically different from the 30th or the 31st. You're not actually going to fix it in the future because the way you prep right now is your prep system. If you're constantly rescheduling your study time, skipping your review, or avoiding the hard sections you should be working on, your future self will do the exact same thing. This is the law school applicant who keeps saying, I'll write my personal statement over vacation, and ends up sending in a rough draft 2 minutes before the deadline. Waiting doesn't build momentum. It builds pressure, and pressure is what breaks you. You don't need more time. You need a real process. Now, I wanted to share a quick disclaimer before we go any further. The stories I'm about to share are real. These are real students I've worked with personally, but their results are not typical. They were committed, they followed the plan, and they didn't cut corners. And most LSAT students, generally speaking, don't improve their scores because they don't put in the work. These students also brought a level of consistency and coachability that most students don't bring on their own. Your score and your results will depend entirely on your consistency, your effort, and your ability to implement what actually works. With that being said, though, let me show you what transformation can look like when it's done right. Now, the fourth type of investment is the new strategy shift, where I'm going to share what top scorers do differently. One of my students, we're going to call her Nina, she had every reason to give up. She had a full-time job, 2 kids, 0 free time. She scored in the 140s on her first diagnostic, and she told me, I'm not sure law school is realistic for me. But instead of giving up, she got strategic. She didn't try to study 3 hours a day. She didn't download 5 new apps. She didn't rewatch the same old videos hoping they'd finally click. She found one window in her day, 45 minutes early in the morning before her kids woke up, and we built everything around that. Her system looked like the following: 1 logical reasoning concept per week, timed drills, not full sections, end of week Socratic review method, no distractions, no fluff, all execution. She made this a non-negotiable in her life. And in just 3 months, she went from the 140s to the 160s. And she walked into test day ready and then walked out knowing she had finally crushed it. Again, Nina's story is not typical, but it's possible. Now, another student of mine, let's call him David, he was stuck in a loop. He'd taken the LSAT twice, and his scores hovered in the low 150s. He was studying 3 hours a night, taking full exams every weekend, reading Reddit for ideas on strategy, but he still remained stuck. And I asked him to show me exactly what he was doing. And here's what I saw: no review system, no pattern tracking, switching methods constantly, and studying when he was already mentally drained. He was doing everything, but getting nothing in return. So we flipped it around. Instead, we transitioned him to do 1 section per sitting, targeted review using the Socratic review method, no full exams for an entire month, clear goals each week, less time put in, better focus combined with real feedback. In 10 weeks, he jumped from a 152 to a 170 and got into Northwestern Law on a scholarship. Again, disclaimer, David's story is real, but his outcome is not guaranteed. He followed the process exactly, showed up every day, and asked for help when he needed it. Your score will reflect what you do. Now let's zoom out for a minute. If you're stuck in the 150s or the 160s, you don't need more time. You need a better system. You're probably already spending at least 5-10 hours a week on your LSAT prep. So the problem isn't the hours, it's the quality of those hours. So ask yourself, are you reviewing your weak areas or the areas you're already strong? Are you reviewing your wrong answers or just moving on? Are you following a plan or are you reacting to anxiety? And if you're not sure about that, that itself is a sign. You're prepping like a student, not a future lawyer. The LSAT is a stress test, not just of logic, but of your approach. And law schools can see the difference in your scores. Now remember, you don't have to be perfect, you don't have to be a genius, and you certainly don't have to study 6 hours a day. You just need to stop leaking time into bad strategies, and instead, start using what actually works. You're not stuck, you're just one good system away.